very interesting. We will not penalize any longer those of you who were conscientious enough to show up on time while waiting for those who weren't. Again, my name is Lou Priebe, a member of the National Press Club since January of 1971, a long time ago. I was telling Cynthia Terry, who you'll meet in a few minutes, said I have two things in common since then. I still have the same wife I brought to town and my membership in the National Press Club. But we have a very interesting forum for you this morning, one that's very relevant and will be one of the early crises in the Obama administration. We have a representative from the transition team here this morning for a listening capacity. But the most important person we have is the founder and executive director of the Urban Progressive Foundation, D. Nice Rhodes. We have a wonderful panel. You can see their names here and their smiling, happy faces. That we're going to try and bring some clarification, distinction this morning to this panel discussion. And to assure that that happens is D. Nice Rhodes, who is taking notes in the back of the room and making sure she's got their last-minute thoughts all down. And I'm doing what they call in television vamping for time. So D. Nice, the program is yours. We're looking forward to a enjoyable, informative, and very beneficial morning. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you and welcome. As Lou Priebe said, my name is D. Nice Rhodes. I always say it rhymes with be nice, and I do try to be nice. I want to welcome you today to this forum panel on a topic that has become more important as we draw closer to February: crisis management for underserved Americans impacted by the DTV transition. To start, I would like to have Cynthia Terry, who is the president of Shabbat Ministry, come to do the introductions and then go through the agenda, and then we'll get started.
Thank you, and good morning. Welcome to the Urban Progressive Foundation's panel forum on transition to digital TV and its impact on the underserved communities. My name, as Ms. Rhodes said, is Cynthia Terry. I'm here to go over the agenda very quickly and to introduce the distinguished guest panelists. The agenda today is, of course, introductions. We will have opening statements from each panelist, about 3 minutes. Afterwards, we will have a Q&A session for our audience's participation. I'm going to introduce our guest panelists. Please hold your applause until the end. I would like to first introduce Mr. Anthony Wilhelm of the National Telecommunications and Information Administration. He is responsible for that organization's consumer education and public information efforts for the TV Converter Box coupon program. He was formerly the senior director of the Schools and Libraries Division at the Universal Service Administration Company, based here in Washington, D.C. Our next panelist is Mr. Christopher McLean of Consumer Electronics Retailers Coalition. Mr. McLean is the executive director, and that organization is a public policy organization consisting of the majority specialty retailers of consumer electronics products, general retailers selling consumer electronics, and retailer associations. Our next panelist is Ms. Magali Rivera of the Hispanic Information and Telecommunications Network, HITN. She is the development director for HITN and brings over 17 years of experience in strategic planning, business development, and funding. At HITN, she is responsible for developing strategic funding initiatives with government, corporate, and foundation entities. Our next panelist is Mr. Mark Lloyd of the Leadership Conference on Civil Rights, the LCCR. Mr. Lloyd is the Vice President of Strategic Initiatives at the LCCR and an affiliate professor of public policy at Georgetown University. Mr. Lloyd is a communications attorney and an award-winning broadcast journalist. Our next panelist is Ms. Myra Dandridge. She is the Vice President of Government Relations at the National Association of Broadcasters, the NAB. She joined in January of 2007 as the Director of Public Affairs for the DTV Transition Team. Prior to joining NAB, Ms. Dandridge served as Communications Director for the Congressional Black Congress, where she was responsible for all media outreach, public affairs activities, educational campaigns, as well as message development and implementation. Our next panelist is Ms. Sherry Dawson of the Federal Communications Commission. Ms. Dawson is Deputy Chief of the Consumer Affairs and Outreach Division, Consumer and Government Affairs Bureau of the FCC. A career employee with the FCC, she has worked in consumer outreach for the past 8 years. Ms. Dawson is a native of Washington, D.C. and a graduate of Wake Forest University. And our moderator is Ms. Denise Rhodes of the Urban Progressive Foundation. Denise Rhodes is the Executive Director of the Urban Progressive Foundation, a project of Congressional District Programs, a 501c3 public charity. This year, TUPF has been focused and active in being a spokesperson for and assisting underserved communities to become digitally prepared for the DTV. Before Ms. Rhodes comes, I would also like to acknowledge Ms. Melina Barzilai of the Association of Public Television Stations. If she would stand and we could give an applause to our panelists and our moderator. Ms. Rhodes?
Thank you, Cynthia. Well, here we are, getting closer to February. What's the date?
17th.
Everybody knows the 17th. I'd like to share a couple thoughts before we get started, and we're going to have our panelists give about a 3 to 4 minute talk on what they're doing. But what we want to do is center this on a population of people that is getting most of the attention right now, which we call the underserved. A friend of mine told me she hasn't said the word disproportionate this much in her lifetime. But unfortunately, there is a disproportionate number of underserved communities that are being impacted tremendously by the transition to digital television. So we're dealing with elderly, minorities, disabled, and rural. You wouldn't think that with all of the different challenges our country has right now, between financial crisis, war, and